Good morning, Eddie. Happy Tuesday. Wait for a minute, see if anybody comes on. Hey, how are you doing? Come on in. Hi, Bonnie. Today I'm drinking. The Starbucks has their pre-made drinks in the store. It's pretty good. Hi, kids. Have a good day at school. I have a frog in my throat this morning. Better than an alligator. Oh, how's everybody doing? Oh, hi, Strawberry. Good morning. Today we're going to talk about kind of like what we talked about last week about the whole empath thing, but now today we're going to talk about narcissists and energy vampires because that's a theme that's been coming up a lot this week for me and some people that I know, so I want to talk about it. PJ wanted me to tell you today is pre-K graduation. Yay, PJ! Make sure you smile. That's awesome. School's almost out up north. It's been out for a while here. All right. So I'm going to talk about, protecting yourself from narcissists and energy vampires. I'm sure most people know what the energy vampire is or narcissist, but if you don't, please let me know. I mean, we're going to talk about it, but, energy vampires actually are drawn to people that are empaths, and some people don't know that. The more loving and giving and compassionate you are, it's almost like, you're shining your light and you're putting it out there for others to see, and the dark side's going to come on over and try to grab it. That's what happens. So I'm going back to my Bible here. I'm just trying to read certain parts from it. One of the biggest things that an energy vampire will say or narcissist will say is that you're too sensitive. And there's different levels of narcissists and energy vampires, so I don't want you to think that everybody you meet that says that is that. They might have traits of one, but there is people out there that actually have narcissistic personality disorder. You can read more about it. You can Google it, or you can get Judith's book here and look it up. Or someone that you met in your life that's toxic to you. That could be a narcissist energy vampire. Just try and look it out. So there's actually a self-assessment in here of how do you know if you've met an energy vampire. So here are some signs to watch for. You feel tired and want to go to sleep. You're suddenly in a terrible mood. You walk in, right, to a party somewhere or any event that you're at, and you start talking to someone and you suddenly are so angry. You feel sick. You could take on physical symptoms of that, and you could be close to someone somewhere, and it could even be anywhere. So you're at a conference, you're at the library, you're sitting down next to someone, and you start to all of a sudden feel sick. And 2 minutes ago, you were fine. So that's a huge one. You don't feel seen or heard. That's another big one. You feel like someone's not listening to you, or you're trying to get your point across and they're reflecting it back on like you. You reach for sugar or carbohydrates for a boost. I do that a lot. I'll admit it. I do that a lot. You start doubting yourself and become self-critical. So they usually make you feel smaller than you, and they don't, they're not letting you be seen or heard. So you feel like you're, not wanted, not appreciated. You're being self-critical. Like, oh my God, am I really too sensitive? Oh my God, am I really overeating? Oh my God, am I really always tired all the time? Because they were pointing it out. And the last one, you feel shamed, controlled, or judged. Nobody else should be making you feel shamed. It shouldn't happen. So, if you didn't know, there are 7 types of energy vampires. I'm not going to get into the details of every single one, but I'll kind of go over a little bit because we only have 30 minutes on here. But I'll touch base a little bit on it. And if you want to follow up or you think you'd be interested in having a class on it, we could definitely have an empath group once a month, and we can, make a whole class. We can talk about it and how to protect ourselves, because we can't always just leave, or we can't always just get rid of them. So Judith says in her book, in the 20 years in her medical practice, she has identified 7 main types of energy vampires to watch out for, who are particularly dangerous for empaths. So the first one is being the narcissist, which is like the most probably, I think, common one that you would hear about if you think of energy vampire. They can be most destructive to empaths. And she's referring to full-blown narcissists, not simply people who have a few narcissistic traits, who may have more empathy. Narcissists act as if the world revolves around them. They have an inflated sense of importance and entitlement. They need to be the center of attention to require endless praise. You must compliment them to get their approval. They can also be extremely intuitive, but they use their intuition to manipulate and achieve their goals. They can do much damage to empaths because they have little or no capacity for unconditional love. If you don't do things their way, or if you disagree with them, they become ice cold and punishing. Withhold love or give you silent treatment, which can last weeks, last days or weeks. So that's a little bit on the narcissist. Research shows that narcissists have an empathy deficient disorder. Do not trust them with your heart. And here's just a quick protection for narcissists. Lower your expectations for narcissists' emotional capabilities. Don't let yourself be manipulated. Don't expect a narcissist to respect your sensitivities, which I just said in the beginning. They are extremely cold people. They won't care. You want to get real, they won't give a fuck about how you're feeling. They won't care that you're crying or being sensitive. The other biggest thing is don't fall in love with a narcissist. Run in the opposite direction no matter how attracted you feel. But that's tough, right? Because sometimes we already get in that relationship and we're in love and, we think that it's good, but they might not be, emotionally connected. So it's tough. It's tough. Try avoid working with a narcissistic boss, but if you can't leave, don't let your self-esteem depend on your boss's reactions. I had a narcissistic boss when I was probably in my early 20s. And I remember this boss took me into the office and literally I was sick, dying. I had like the flu, stomach bug, something like that. And I was still working around customers. Nowadays, if that ever happened, I'd be like, no, I'm not working. Fuck you. Back then, though, this lady took me in the office and she reamed me out. Like, you're not doing your job the way you should be. you're not being true to the company, and just you're, and I started crying. She's like, you're too sensitive. Stop crying. You're supposed to be working. It was horrible. Horrible. So what did I do? I walked out. And then one day I was sick. I don't know if I was sick or I didn't have daycare for Brianna when she was small, and I couldn't make it there. And I worked like 45 minutes away. And I never forget this. She left a message on my answer machine, those little box answer machines. She left a message on there and called me a bitch in the message. So I did not go back to that job. I filed for unemployment, and I had to go to a hearing for the unemployment. I remember, and it was a big, well-known company. I'm not going to say what it is, but it was a huge company. And I sat there with the district manager, her boss, whatever. And I literally pulled this tape player recorder out of my purse and put it on the table. And I pressed the button and I played it because they were trying to fight me, saying that I wasn't qualifying for unemployment. You bet your ass that I won because that lady called me a bitch on my answer machine. So that could be a narcissist or someone who has narcissistic tendencies. The book says to, stop all contact when you can, but it's tough. You can't always leave. You can't always walk away. You can practice cord cutting visualization in a calm state. Picture cords of light connecting both of you, and then inwardly say thank you for what you have learned from the relationship. Even if the lessons were hard, then firmly assert it's time to completely break up our bond. So you can just, set an intention. Say, I'm cutting my cords with this person and I'm not picking up their energy. It's not going to happen. So number 2 for 7 types of energy vampires, the rageaholic. So this energy vampire deals with conflict by accusing, attacking, and controlling. Rageaholics often yell to make a point, and as she noted in chapter 4 of the book, empaths cannot tolerate yelling. I grew up yelling my whole life, being an Italian family, and I will tell you now, after not being around it as much and me not yelling, because I used to yell, I can't deal with it. And if I go into a loud place, I can't deal with it. I get so overwhelmed. We actually feel physical pain when we're around yelling, and it's true. We do as empaths. So a few things that rageaholics will say is that you're horrible things that they may regret later, such as you're a bad wife or I'm not attracted to you anymore. Rageaholics traumatize empaths by beating down their positivity and self-worth. Empaths often experience sensory overload around yelling, arguments, loud noises, and loud personalities. So Judah talks about in her book of an experience she had with a rageaholic. She says, I once was waiting for a friend to finish a phone conversation. She became agitated and started yelling at a person she was talking to. It felt like that toxic energy was being deposited on me, and I suffered from the fallout of her anger. Later, I told her, look, I'm an empath. Your anger affects me, and I feel drained. Please don't do it again. Thankfully, she heard me and never repeated that behavior. If that happens to me now, I'll just walk away, usually. Or if I get talking to someone and they're yelling at me or raising their voice, I will hang up. I don't care. Bye. So quickly, I just want to go over, know the difference between venting and dumping. It's okay for someone to vent to you, and your friend calls you up and she wants to vent a little bit. Venting feels healthy and is time limited. When venting, stick to one topic. Don't keep repeating the same point. Don't blame. Don't fall into victim mode. Be accountable for your own part. Stay open to solutions. Dumping feels toxic. Overwhelms another with many issues, keeps repeating the same point, blames others, plays the victim, shows no accountability for their part in the matter, and is not open to solutions. A couple of protection strategies for rageaholics is, let the rageaholic know you hear them. Set a no yelling rule with the loved ones. It might be tough, but, stay strong and stern about it. Stay calm. Pause when agitated. Practice restraint with your speech in all forms, including texting, email, phone. You have to stop talking to them until they calm down. Leave or, just stop talking. It's probably going to make them more aggravated, but then just talk about it later when they're calmed down. And visualize yourself as an open window with air freeing slowly through it. And leave the room or ask the person to leave if they won't stop yelling. I mean, it's pretty simple. Number 3, the victim. Energy vampires with the victim mentality drain empaths with the world is against me. I have someone in my life like that, and that's tough. They don't take responsibility for the problem that happens in their lives. Other people are always the cause of their distress. Let me tell you, you're the only one that controls your life, good or bad. Don't blame it on everybody else. And I will admit that took me a long time to realize. You create your own happiness. What else about them? Empaths often fall into the compassionate caretaker role with victims, trying to solve their list of problems. And one common thing that victims do say is yes, but. Like if you talk to them with a solution, they say yes, but this. Yes, but this. Yes, but I can't do that. And as empaths, we might get, we might start screening our calls and emails and not want to talk to that person because we're sick of hearing it. So protect yourself from a victim, set compassionate and clear boundaries. People can hear us better when we're not being snippy or impatient. So send an email, send a nice text message when you know they're not in their victim mode, which could be all the time, but send it. Use the 3-minute phone call. Listen briefly and then tell your friend or family member, I support you, but I can only listen for a few minutes if you keep rehashing the same issues. Perhaps you could benefit from finding a therapist to help you. And that's the biggest thing. They want someone to listen to them. And it's okay. Like she says, 3 minutes. Find them a therapist, someone that's getting paid to sit there and listen to them and that can, is educated to deal with that and to help them. Say no with a smile and set limits with body language. This is a good time to cross your arms and break eye contact to send a message that you're busy. Notice that with people. If you have a chance to, if you notice that someone's in a heavy conversation and they start to cross their arms or they cross their legs or they turn their body, it means that they're trying to protect themselves energetically from whatever the person's talking about. Number 4, the drama queen or king. These types drain sensitive people by overloading them with nonstop drama. I'm sure we all have someone in our life like that. Right? These dramas impose too much information and stimulation for empaths to process. Drama is a kind of drug that some people become addicted to. Don't enable that addiction. Protection from drama queens or kings. Don't ask these people how they're doing. Breathe deeply. Set kind but firm limits. Judith has this quote in her book that's so funny. It says, smile and laugh more. It will keep the energy vampires away. And it's true, right? You raise your vibration, you raise the energy, and hopefully they stay away. Number 5, control freaks and critics. These energy vampires always offer their unsolicited opinions, such as, you know what you should do? Then they proceed to tell you whether or not you want to hear their advice. Or they continue to nitpick about the things that you're doing wrong, such as, you forgot to put the dishes away, or you really should learn to park better. I'm kind of like that, unfortunately. I would say back in the day, I was probably more of a control freak. Now I just kind of know what I want, so I don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe I have a trait of that. It's okay. What else? In general, criticism, especially ongoing nitpicking, can drain empaths. So, how do you protect yourself from control freaks and the critics? Be assertive, but don't tell these types what to do because that will only make them defensive. Instead, say to them, I value your advice, but I want to think about how to approach the situation myself. Politely ask the person to stop criticizing you. Be firm and non emotional. Don't play the victim. If you feel inadequate around a controller or a critic, identify the self-esteem issue that has been triggered and focus on healing. The more secure you feel, the less vampires will hurt you. Number 6, the non-stop talker. Non-stop talkers can drain the life force out of empaths with an endless verbal assault. And I know that a lot of people in our lives are excessive talkers. You know one person that's an excessive talker. I try to avoid these people because they grate on my nerves and sensitivities. They trap you and recount their life stories without pausing for a breath, and they don't give you any openings to interrupt them. They also can move in so close physically that they intrude in your personal space. I freaking hate that. And it really bothers me. I don't like when someone's in my bubble here. Like, back up. Yeah, because you feel like you can't escape. Empaths are incredible listeners, but often make the mistake of tolerating chronic talkers for too long. Then we become exhausted. To protect ourselves, empaths must address our tendency to people please. Everyone loves telling empaths their life stories because they're so attentive. But with chronic talkers, we must learn to set boundaries, a basic form of self-care. How about get the fuck out of my space? Shut the fuck up. Stop talking to me. Get a muzzle. All right, that's not nice. Protect yourself from non-stop talkers. Non-stop talkers don't respond to your nonverbal cues. They don't see it because they're enwrapped in whatever they're talking about. Simply looking impatient or restless does not work. You must interrupt them as hard as it may to do. Okay, I'm going to go now. Be tactful. Although you may really feel like saying, be quiet, you're driving me crazy, like I just said, that would just make the person quite defensive or angry. Instead, smile nicely and say something like, please excuse me for interrupting, but I need to talk to someone else at this party. Or I have an appointment I must keep. Or you said something on your phone, like if you know you're going to a party where you might have that situation, you put a timer on your phone for your phone to go off every 15 minutes. Oh, excuse me, I have to take this phone call. Done. State a request with a family member or coworker in a neutral and non-blaming tone. Let them know. I'd like to add to the discussion too. It would be great if you would allow me to contribute. If you convey this message without irritation, you will be better heard. Use humor with people you know well who will understand. You can jokingly say, the clock is ticking, as one good friend with me does when I get long-winded. And number 7, energy vampires. Passive-aggressive people. Passive-aggressive people can express their anger with a smile. They sugarcoat hostilely, if I can speak today. But you can intuitively sense the anger beneath their pleasant facade. They often procrastinate, conveniently forget, and make excuses for why they couldn't fulfill a commitment. These people seem so sincere, but they aren't dependable. I'm sure we all know someone like that in our lives. They will promise you anything, but then do as they please. To make things even more difficult, narcissism and passive aggression can often be present in the same person, which is a double danger. Here are some examples of passive aggressive behavior, in case you don't know. Your partner keeps forgetting your birthday, though they know how important celebrating is to you. A friend brings cupcakes to your house when she knows you're on a diet. Fuck that bitch. She's getting out. If I'm on a diet, which I'm going to be doing a cleanse soon, if you bring me a cupcake, I'm going to smash it in your face. Just saying. Anyway. Passive aggressive people are known for making sarcastic comments about you and then saying, "Can't you take a joke?" I'll say sarcastic stuff to you, but it's because I love you. And that's it. Not because I want to hurt your feelings. So that there's a difference there. And I will never say, "Can you take a joke? Oh my God, Becky, get over it." No. They also sulk when they don't get what they want, but claim nothing is wrong. These are confusing messages for empaths who are much more direct. So protecting yourself from passive aggressive people. Don't question your response to passive aggressive person. Just because their anger is so hidden doesn't mean it's not real. Trust your intuition. Recognize the pattern and address that behavior with the person. Focus on resolving one issue at a time so the passive aggressive person doesn't feel attacked. If you can't get a direct answer, ask the person to clarify their position. So Judith says, use the above strategies to cope with the 7 types of energy vampires in your life. Then you will have the power, not them. Take an inventory of people who give you energy and those who drain you. You can create separate lists for work, home, and family, friends, and relationships. You might decide to completely stop having contact with some people who drain you. For those who must stay in your life, such as certain family members, decide what strategies to use and consistently implement them. Learning to set limits with emotional vampires will protect your sensitivities and enhance your well-being. So I really wanted to touch upon that because it's so important. We have all these people in our lives that are just, kind of taking over and not letting us live and be. And I mean, it's sad, but that's what's happening. So we need to break the cycle. If you come from like a family of narcissists your whole life, maybe everybody in your life was like that. Maybe your dad was like that. Maybe your mom was like that. Her mother was like that. We have to break it. We have to break the cycle. It's so important. But thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions about narcissists, empaths, if you are really interested in doing a group, I might hold the space anyways, and we can just talk about whatever you want and strategies, and we can go through the book and everything. That's cool. So I might set that up this week, once a month, empath group online with Zoom. Don't forget the check back Friday for 9 p.m. for Psychic Hour. That's been really good. Invite your friends because everybody has a question. What else? I am going to be starting. I'm still kind of working the details out and making sure I understand everything. But I'm probably going to do the 28-day cleanse with the medical medium, Anthony William. So if you're interested in doing that with me and maybe having, a little support team together doing it, let me know. It's mainly raw fruits and vegetables for 28 days. And you'd have to read the book to understand why it will work. But let me know if you're interested in that. I definitely want to reset my digestion and my body and clear myself of viruses that are in my liver. So that's why I want to do it. But anyways, that's another day for that. I'll be doing that. Also, too, I just updated all my information for my scheduling link. My Reiki classes are on there now. I had a few people reach out to me about Reiki classes. So I am doing that Reiki 1 and 2 online through Zoom. If you're interested, check it out. But that's it. I just wanted to come on here and talk about those people. So if you need to rewatch the video, if you're rewatching on the replay, great. If you know someone who needs to know about energy vampires and the breakdown, please share this video and let them know. Tag them in, add them to the group. I hope everybody has a great day. And I will see you on Friday for Psychic Hour. Blessings and light. Take care.